Hi, I'm Joe James. This is the 8th video in my series on solving quadratic equations. So let's say we are faced with trying to solve this problem. It doesn't really lend itself very easily to either factoring or complete the square method that we've learned so far. Another option is to use this quadratic formula. The quadratic formula looks like this. Given an equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, that's our standard format for our quadratic equations, we can solve for values of x by using this quadratic formula. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So we're going to figure out what the values of a, b, and c are. We're going to plug them into this equation, and then we're going to solve. And we may get 0 answers if we get a negative square root. If we get a negative value inside the square root, we'll get 0 answers. There won't be any solutions. If we get 0 inside the square root, then we'll only get one valid solution for x. And probably in most cases, we'll get 2 solutions for x. And we'll look more at that when we get to the graphing section in the next video. But for now, let's learn how to use this quadratic formula to solve quadratic equations. So this first one I've already worked out. Our equation is 6x squared plus 11x minus 35. So first we want to identify a, b, and c, which I've done here. A is 6, right? It's the coefficient of x squared. B is 11, which is the coefficient of x. And c is negative 35, which is this constant on the end. So now we have values for a, b, and c. We just need to plug those in to this quadratic formula. So to solve for x, we plug in our values. B is 11, right? 11 squared minus 4 times a, which is 6, times c, which is negative 35. And when we multiply this out under the radical, we get 961, so square root of 961. And on the bottom, we get 2a. A is 6, so we get 12. When we solve this, we get 2 answers, right? We solve this square root using a calculator because it's not going to come out to an even square probably. In most cases it won't. Negative 11 plus what that square root works out to, and negative 11 minus what that square root works out to, and divide by 12. And so that's going to give us, in most cases, 2 different solutions for x. And here we get a 5/3 and a negative 7/2. So let's work through one manually. That's basically how the process works. So the quadratic formula, I'm not going to lie to you, it is complicated and hard to use. It's not simple. However, it always works for every quadratic equation. So no matter what, if you want to try and find solutions for quadratic equations, this will give you a solution. Sometimes factoring, it's hit or miss. Sometimes it's hard to factor an equation. Sometimes the completing the squares method doesn't work very well if you have a hairy equation as well, like a negative b, and you have a big value for a, so on. But in this case, you can always, whatever your values are, you can always use this as a fallback to solve the equation. It's just a lot of work to chug through this thing. So let's do a couple of them and see how it works. So here, what do we have for a? Let's see, a equals 2, right? That's the coefficient of x squared. B equals negative 4, that's the coefficient of x, and c is the constant, which is negative 2. You can see the negative sign there, negative 2. Now we're just going to plug these values into that quadratic formula that we saw on the previous slide. And when we plug in our values that we just identified into this equation, we get negative, what's b? Negative 4, plus or minus the square root of, let's see, b squared is negative 4 squared. So negative 4 minus 4ac. So minus 4 times 2 times negative 2. Over 2a, which is 2 times 2. And when we work this out, we get, let's see, negative 4 becomes a positive 4, plus or minus square root of, let's see, negative 4 squared is 16. And let's see, here we have a negative 2, a positive 2, and a negative 4, so those multiply out to 16. So we get 16 plus 16 over 4. So 4 plus root 32, 4 minus root 32, and divide both of those by 4. And what we get for our answers is, I'll round these off to single decimal place. We get 2.4 and negative 0.4. So negative 0.4 and 2.4. So those are our two solutions for x. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try this one. First, let's identify a, b, and c again. So we see that a is equal to 5, b is equal to negative 2. That's just a coefficient of x here, negative 2. And c is that constant there on the end, negative 9. X values equal negative b, which is negative 2. We got the double negative again, plus or minus square root of b squared, which is negative 2 squared, minus 4ac, 4 times 5 times negative 9 all over 2a, which is 2 times 5. Negative 2 becomes a positive 2, doesn't it? And then plus or minus, what do we get inside the radical? Let's see, negative 2 squared is 4. And then 4 times 5 times negative 9 is going to be a positive 180. And then when we divide that by 10, and then we're going to get two solutions when we do that. 2 plus root 184 divided by 10, and 2 minus root 184 divided by 10. We're going to get two solutions for x. And again, I rounded these off to one decimal place. We get negative 1.2 and positive 1.6. So those are our solutions for x. I hope this video was helpful for you. If so, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'm Joe James. Thanks for watching.